Hello everyone and welcome to another of our Getting Out of Tabletop guides. Today we're going to discuss the color yellow. Color yellow is extremely useful, more than any other color really, and the reason why it is so useful is because of its luminosity. Now, let me get two yellows out so I can explain how they work. I'm going to be using a Chimera Cold Yellow and Chimera Warm Yellow. The name of the color already imply something in them, right? An interesting thing to know about paint and colors is that they can be warm or cold inside of their own color, in a sense that you can have cold colors and warm colors. You can have blues and purples and aqua colors, and they will be cold. And you can have warm colors like red, yellow, orange, and they will be warm. But inside of the spectrum of every color, there is possibilities for cold and warm colors. In the case of yellow, which is probably the warmest color, you can also have cold versions of yellow compared to other yellows. If I hide this yellow here from the palette, you will be telling me this yellow is very warm, and if I paint a blue here, the yellow will be very warm against the blue. And if I paint a red even, this yellow might still look very warm compared to it. But inside of the family of yellows, this yellow is darker than this one. Sorry, it's colder than this one. This is a warm yellow and this is a cold yellow. Why is this useful to know? Because sometimes we are playing with colors, we're playing with values and lights and stuff, and we don't always want to have our paint jobs to be just a gradient of colors going lighter and that's it. Sometimes we want to create differences in a color. Maybe we want to create a non-metallic gold, for example, that has warmth in it as a general color. So we're going to be having a more orangish yellow color in the golds, but maybe in the areas of shadows, we want them to feel colder because the sun isn't hitting them. So the light is going to be colder. And this cold yellow, warm yellow thing works really nicely. I'll show you a paint job I have done to give you an idea of what I mean. You can see that the chest of this dude is very warm. Also the shield is. But if I move the model around, in the shadows, you will see coldness in it. And this is basically this game being played. I wanted the gold of his armor to look colder in the shadows, so I progressively took it more towards a cold yellow, using also blues in the case. But this is important to know. Another very important thing to know about yellow and why it is the most used color, regardless of what color scheme you're doing, is because of its luminosity. Yellow is extremely luminous, and this makes it super useful in any paint job we do. Luminosity is a fairly complex topic to explain, but to say it in the shortest amount of words possible, a luminous color is a color that appears brighter than it actually is. For example, I'll just show you. If I turn my palette cam in black and white, you're gonna be seeing that these yellows, which now appear very bright, if I turn them in black and white, they're not gonna be just as bright. See, this is basically a gray, like a gray, and this is a light gray. But if you look at them in color, they feel much brighter than just being grays, basically. And the reason is luminosity. So when we work with our paints and we work with our models, you will see any painter worth their salt add yellows in the highlights of pretty much everything except purple, and that's because purple is the opposite on the color wheel of yellow. So adding yellow to purple to highlight it will instead turn it grayish. It won't make it look more luminous, it will make it look more dead. Other colors, though, they tend to be highlighted with yellow, right? And which yellow we use matters. We can use a cold yellow or a warm yellow. For example, if I if I get this blue out, just a random color, okay? If I get this blue out and I add cold yellow to it, okay? It's gonna become a dark green. If I add warm yellow, it's gonna become a more ranger, foresty green. And of course, to yellow, we also add white. When we highlight, we don't just add yellow to our colors and to highlight them. We add white with yellow in it. Stuff like sunny skin tone or sand yellow, ice yellow, German camo. Those are all colors. German camo is nothing but a cold yellow with white added to it, made a little bit more desaturated. So it is cold yellow with white with a bit of black added to it to grade down a notch. Sunny skin tone is basically an orangish yellow with a lot of white in it. So we do use white, of course, because we need white to push the value, but yellow helps us because we need less white added than we normally would, because yellow makes things look more luminous. And this helps to make stuff not look pastel. For example, again, if I add white to this mix here, and I add white to this mix here, you will see that they are two very different colors. And if I add more blue, because let's say I wanted to highlight a blue, okay? So I have my blue, and I wanted to make it lighter. So I just add a little bit of yellow and white. Look what it's such a nice blue now, right? And the same can be done on the other side with the other color. If we add more blue to this and more white and a little bit more yellow in this case, we create two very different blues. One is colder and the other is warmer because of the yellow we have used. Okay? These two colors are pretty much the same color, but they follow with the yellows used to highlight it. One is a colder blue, colder teal, and this is a warmer one, right? So keep in mind what yellow you use. Sunny skin tone is a warm yellow, ice yellow is a cold yellow. Those are the two most common highlight colors used. And both of these colors are better looking than just this, adding white. Because if we add white, we are creating a very pastel looking blue, which has its places in a paint job, but usually it doesn't look very good because it looks too desaturated, too much bleh, right? So using yellow to improve your painting by adding little touches of it to your white. Basically, you never want to use white. What you want on your palette is something like this. Let me show you to give you an idea. Like what you want on your palette is a white with yellow added to it, like an off-white yellow. This looks white to you, but it isn't. It's a very light yellow. Or alternatively, a very warm white. You basically don't want to have white on your palette. You want to have white for minor adjustments, to changes in values, or to do the lightest touches of light in a non-metallic, for example. But generally speaking, when you're working with your colors, unless it's a purple, you want to be using these two colors here. Either a very cold white yellow or a very warm white yellow. They're gonna be whites. They're gonna be very bright colors, but they are different from white. And these changes a lot because if I add them to my mix, you can see that I can take this blue through many hues of color and they all look interesting. Not just the starting one, but all of them look interesting. They give me a more vibrant paint job, a more alive paint job, and this matters a lot. So I hope this helped you in understanding how yellow works and why it's such an interesting color to work with, because it is the most interesting color to work with, regardless if you like the color or not. As a personal preference, you have to use it very, very often in your paint jobs because it will be super helpful. Again, I don't mean you should always use it. There are other cases, many cases, in which not using yellow to highlight has a purpose, and it is helpful, and I do it all the time. But as a general rule, if you want your colors to look more lively as you highlight them, try a touch of yellow. Thank you so much for watching this guide. I hope it helped you. Have a fantastic day. I'll see you later.